Hello, thank you for joining us and welcome along to episode 354 of the Total Saints podcast, your home for all things Southampton Football Club. A big thank you, as always, to our TSP Patreon community, because we couldn't make this show each week without your loyal support. And there are some new names too. Welcome along to Stewart Edwards, who has joined our James Beattie tier, Joe Hastings, who's joined our TSP supporter tier, and thanks to John Collison, who's joined our Francis Benali tier. It's great to have you with us. Coming up this week on the podcast, it's 7 games without a win in the Championship after another dismal performance. This time, it was Hull completing the double over us. We'll look back at what went wrong, but spoiler alert, it's the same as last week and the week before that, and probably the week before that as well. There is the chance, though, to put a few things right at home to Sheffield United on Wednesday. In all honesty, we probably won't, but we'll preview that game anyway with the help of a Blades fan. Chad Jarvis is going to join us from his podcast, which is called The Red Half of Sheffield. Chad's going to be with us later. Joining me right now, though, Steve Grant is the owner of Saints Web. Glenn Delacour is writer of the blog League One -10. And George Rees-Julian is Southampton reporter at the Daily Echo. So, I mean, as I said, we're in real danger of going over old ground here. It feels a bit like Groundhog Day. I've got a feeling we're going to be talking about missed chances, not defending crosses, playing 5 at the back and giving silly goals away. But that's kind of where we've got to start, Glenn, I guess. It was just more of the same and it was crap.
Yeah, it's dismal. From the moment I was running down the team sheet and I saw the name of the third central defender, I thought, oh, here we go again. And it was exactly as predicted. The players that played well against Doncaster, like Matsky, Wellington, didn't get a look in. And we went back to, the likes of Finn Azaz, who we know has been terrible the last few games, and Ryan Manning, and what a game he had. So, yeah, right from the start, I was not over enthused about what was about to happen. So we nearly went behind straight away, unmarked header in the box, despite all our central defenders being there. And it was a decent save by Perez to keep that out. We had a couple of chances in the first half, but no one really shooting at goal with any conviction. Really, there was one there. I think it was a header by Cienza, and then Azaz and Yander combined to kind of not get another shot in, and kind of just sort of waving a leg at it. No conviction. And then we let in the first goal, which is we got 3 at the back. So that sort of brings us doing is just sort of knocking it around casually, because that's where the extra man is. We've got an overload at the back, which is really useful. We knock the ball around casually. Ryan Manning just waves a lazy leg at it and passes it straight to Hull centre forward, and they didn't make a mess of it. And 1-0 down, it's an absolute criminal goal to concede in a game where you basically want to keep things tight and try and put right the wrongs of the last few weeks. So 1-0 down pretty soon. 2-0 down, our old Achilles heel with corners. And I said last week that we had an issue where Yellert, all 5'7" of him, got out jumped by a massive guy. This time it was one of the big guys, Nathan Wood, just got absolutely bullied at the back post. Goalkeeper again, not really covering himself with glory. He kind of came and then stopped and they got headed past him. But in the end, by the time the header came in, he didn't have a lot of chance. So 2-0 down, pathetic, just dismal. Again, half-time, Tonda did at least put his big boy pants on for long enough to take one of the centre-backs off. Took off the wrong one, in my opinion. Should have been Nathan Wood who came off, because I thought Kwasi was not as culpable, and he plays that left channel better. We kind of flattered to deceive a bit in the second half. There's a little bit more went on, and of course you change the formation. The main benefit of it is to get Tom Fellows further up the pitch on the wing. And so what happens after 20 minutes? He takes him off and brings on Jay Robinson. Ross Stewart took a bit longer to come on because he had to wait for Finn Azaz to haul his sorry ass off the pitch. That took a while. And Stewart scores because we've actually got a centre forward, committed to running forward and trying to sniff out chances. And then you thought, well, will there be this? Will we put a lot more in? And create chances, pepper the goalkeeper and all that stuff. I think we had about 20 minutes left to do that. But yeah, nothing really. A couple of pot shots over the bar. But yeah, there was nothing much going on. And, the atmosphere was poor in the crowd, obviously, because of what had gone on. And yeah, it was almost like the Preston game all over again when Will Still got sacked. And when I was on my way home, listening to the radio and could hear Adam Blackmore saying, "Well, Tonda Eckert hasn't come out yet. He hasn't come out." And eventually
like the team.
So he hadn't been sacked, which I initially thought might have happened. But and he came out and said there were hard truths being said in the changing rooms. Now, I'd love to know what that actually. I'd love to know what that actually means. Does that just means, come on, lads, we're really not doing as well as we should be, or does that mean, Nathan Wood, you're an absolute dickhead for getting beaten in the air by a guy and not competing with him? What level are we talking about here? Basically, it was another pathetic showing, entirely predictable, and I like to blow my own trumpet, but if you listen to my prediction from last week, it's exactly what I said would happen.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't happen often, but yeah, it was just predictable, and that's the main problem I have with it.
Let's just get your thoughts on that after the game, George. As Glenn mentioned there, it must have been about an hour, wasn't it? I think before he eventually came out to face the press. We were all thinking maybe he's gone. Maybe it's like the Russell Martin after the Spurs game, up to the office and off you go kind of thing. But that wasn't the case. And I know he's a bit apologetic, but have you ever had to wait that long?
I've not had to wait that long. We actually had the Hull goal scorer, Charlie Hughes, and the Hull manager both come in and do stuff. Never get that, where you get two people from the opposition team come in first. I actually hadn't realised how long it had been, because I'd been listening to the people chatting from Hull, so it kind of ate up the time. But then when you do hear that the manager's been an hour and he still hasn't come out, even though he's not always the quickest to come out, you do start thinking, oh my God, they've done something. So I start running around, and people quite quickly said, no, he is due out. They've been having a chat in the dressing room. But as Glenn says, depends on what they've actually been speaking about. It has to actually mean something. They can't just sit there and have a go at each other or try and pick each other up. Kasper Yander said in the week that they've just got to keep trying to be positive to turn the form around and the confidence around. But it seems to me that there are a squad of players who lose a couple of games and suddenly the confidence is at zero. I've never sort of seen that before personally, that suddenly they can go from ripping teams apart, not win a few games, and now they don't know how to win again. I listened to the Hull manager and the way he spoke about the togetherness in his squad, which was depleted, and he lost 3 more players during that game to injury, and Saints still didn't make that count. But he spoke about the togetherness in his squad in a way that I've never heard a Southampton manager speak about this squad, and I think that's quite an alarming thing for an opposition manager to come and basically just say, yeah, we've got lads who really care, and they all dug in and they played on through injury, whereas it feels like Saints sometimes they've got excuses baked in, and we've lost a game, our confidence is bad. It's an excuse that rolls off the tongue, and confidence is bad.
Some of the players,
but it's just bleak, isn't it? That we sort of hear the same things after every game, and I don't really see how it's going to suddenly turn around, especially with Pompey on Sunday. They've got to turn it around quicker than they possibly can, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. If we go back to the team that started on Saturday, Steve, it was the same outfield players that had collapsed against Middlesbrough, wasn't it? So to me, he's either okay with that performance, or he doesn't have the options to change it, or he just doesn't want to. It's just madness. If you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same result.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to know, obviously, without being privy to what happens on the training ground. I mean, maybe all of those players looked incredible in training at Staplewood this week, and obviously Cam Bragg unavailable through concussion, so no option there. Maybe Wellington's got a knock. Don't know. I mean, nobody from the club seems to have said anything along those lines. So yeah, we have to assume that these are the 11 players that Eckert wanted to pick. And I mean, in fairness, let's not forget, this is more or less the same 11 players that were smashing 3, 4, 5 goals past teams like 2 months ago. So it's not that we've lost players to injury. It's that suddenly these players have just either decided, or just something in them has just lost that ability to play competent football. And that game yesterday was such a reminder of the sort of fag end of the Will Still era, in that you look at the stats and you look at the kind of the way the game flowed. We were comfortably on top for basically 95% of that game. But it doesn't matter when you give away such stupid goals at the other end. You give any team, doesn't matter whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. At this level, every player is good enough to take advantage of an individual screw up. And I mean, it doesn't even need to be anything difficult. I mean, that Manning back pass is just so lazy. And I mean, surely if he's looking at the keeper, then McBurney is in his eye line. So how has he thought? Yeah, this is a good pass to make. Just baffling on that one. And yeah, I mean, obviously Wood gets bullied from the corner by Hughes, who incidentally lived a pretty charmed life in that first half.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, how he didn't get booked for the pullback on Cienza after about 15 minutes. I think, I mean, I'm sure on the highlights, you look back at the highlights, and Sam Allison, the referee, had his hand in his pocket ready to get his yellow card out, and then just for some reason decided, nah, it's all right, I'll let you go with that blatant shirt pull and sort of stopping a promising attack. I mean, take your pick on which bookable offence that foul comes under. It comes under both of them, really. And then when he then goes in thigh high on Cienza, it's actually an easier decision because then he could just give him a second yellow and he's off either way. Yeah. But of course that should be a straight red. And also came about 5 seconds after he missed what looked like a probable penalty for Hull.
Yeah.
I mean, the angle shown on the replay, it's difficult to see whether there's much contact, but you can assume there's probably some in that move. And Downs just got himself the wrong side, which I guess is kind of a little bit like him, really, in terms of everything being in the wrong direction this season. But yeah, second half, huffed and puffed. The change of formation. I mean, Hull had absolutely no desire to more or less get out their own half, really, did they? But I think they probably felt, as it turned out quite rightly, that they probably didn't need to. I mean, it just shows the kind of clouded sort of heads, the sort of lack of thought process among the players as well. I mean, once the players are on the pitch, there's not a huge amount the manager can do about it, really. Sort of as the game's going along. But like those free kicks that we kept getting on halfway, in the sort of in stoppage time and the sort of few minutes before, and we decided that Peretz lumping it long up to all of our really tall players that we've got for Hull's sort of monstrous centre backs and McBurney just to comfortably say, "Oh, thanks very much, lads," and just nod it away easily.
Or out of play, wasn't it? One of them, I think. They were pretty terrible.
Yeah, I mean, there was one that went over Harwood-Bellis' head. It was, I think that one was probably the one of the 3 or 4 that the kind of direction was right. He's just slightly overhit it. But yeah, just never really looked likely. Even once we got the goal back, the kind of tempo raised for about 3 or 4 minutes. But then even the crowd just gave up. And I mean, I know that we've witnessed an awful lot of shit at St Mary's in 3 of the last 4 years. But Jesus Christ, the absolute desperation from so many people in the ground, like literally at the first sign of a misplaced pass, like 2 minutes into the game, there's boos and there's people getting on players' backs, and like, why are you bothering to come? Like literally, you walk through the turnstile, you're probably booing the turnstile as it beeps. Like what is the point in this? And I mean, if anything, it would actually be a better indication to the board if the board is who you want to aim your anger at. Actually, it's a better notice to the board of people's dissatisfaction if you're literally not there.
Yeah.
If there are tickets sold and there's not a single bum on seats, that is more of a sign of apathy, anger, call it what you want, than you being in the stands, still buying your 3 pints before, during, and after, and just hurling abuse at people. I mean, there were 2 or 3 incidents at the back of the Northern where people were starting to fight amongst each other. It's pathetic. And I'm kind of now inclined to sort of think that actually maybe we should go back to how the ground was configured before. Have a smaller Northern where everything's a little bit more concentrated, and anybody who wants to just piss and whinge all afternoon can go elsewhere.
Fair dues. There was more of his famous kind of gaslighting after the game, Glenn. He was talking about the stats, the shots, 22 shots. They only managed 8, 67% possession. There's more. Yeah. I think I was more frustrated with the nonsense that he did eventually come out with, albeit an hour later. It was just more of the same, wasn't it? Just
I have to admit,
nothing that we want to hear.
I didn't listen to much of it because I knew it would be like that. I read the highlights. I can't remember if it was Alfie or George that wrote up the highlights, and it was basically, statistically, that game was okay, which, fuck off, I mean, that's just, it's just bewildering, and I can't be bothered with it. I can't. Yeah, the gaslighting is exactly the right word. He's talking about how hard he works and all that. Yeah, I don't doubt that. But the end result is what it is. You've lost 2-1 at home to Hull.
Imagine how bad we'd be if he didn't put the work in.
Yeah, who only apparently had 10 fit players. And that's another thing. Clubs, we're playing these clubs that have got 10 injuries or whatever, but all they have to do is turn up, work hard, have a little bit of attacking intent, and throw a couple of corners across our box, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's all they have to do, which is why when we're previewing games, and we're going to preview Sheffield United in a minute, they had 2 players sent off last week, so they're going to be down to, they're going to have players missing as well. It won't make any difference if you don't do the basics and compete, on a physical level in the Championship, and you don't attack with any intensity, then you're going to lose. We're easy to beat. The way Tonda has got the team playing right now, forget when he was interim, because that's proving to be the anomaly at the moment. The way he's got the team playing right now, we won't beat anyone because we're too easy to play against, we're too easy to score against, and we've lost whatever attacking verve that we had when Cienza was doing bits and Armstrong was suddenly playing like this different player. So I'm not really interested in the statistics of the game. I'm interested in why are certain players not doing it now? Why did you take Tom Fellows off when you changed the formation to get him further forward? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? You're working hard. Okay, that's a given, but explain. Explain some of the key decisions that went on during the game that you made, or before the game even. Why'd you pick Ryan Manning again? He's been crap for weeks. Why pick Finn Azaz again? He's been crap for weeks. They're the sort of things that I want him to address. And if it's because he doesn't think Matsky's ready to play in a Premier League game, or Wellington's not fit enough, then it's Premier League. God, where was I going there? In the Championship game. Then then fair enough. But I just he's become one of those managers very quickly who I can't listen to. And it was the same with Will Still. And going back through time, you go back to Jan Portvliet and Claude Puel, people like that. They're just certain people who just certain managers who you just know what they're going to come out with. So you might as well not listen. And I prefer to not subject myself to it. To be honest, I'll read the highlights in the paper. Thank you very much.
So what needs to change, George? Can you see a way out of this? Because I'm starting to think that maybe Sunday and the derby is all we've got left to play for this season. That's kind of like the small glimmer of hope that we need to go there and get something, because like playoffs it's not going to happen now, is it? We're looking over our shoulders a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think the fact that when Tonda came in and got the job permanently, a month and a half ago, he talked about wanting to take this club back to the Premier League. They managed to claw themselves within 1 point of the playoffs, and they're now 10 points away from the playoffs, 6 in the relegation zone, and people online fearing about getting relegated are very correct to feel that way, because suddenly if they lose to Sheffield United, if they lose to Portsmouth, 2 teams below them, then they are going to get themselves dragged right into it. And if the squad of players are really that fragile with their confidence, if they lose games and they can't pick themselves up, then suddenly a group of players who think they should be competing for promotion are now battling against relegation. And we hear about previously them having to be very careful with what they say in the dressing room. I think that's probably why Tonda Eckert never really explains many of his decisions, because he's not going to come out and say that Ryan Manning hasn't been very good, or that Nathan Wood hasn't been very good, or that Matsky's perhaps not ready to start. He just doesn't want to say anything bad against his players, and he very rarely says anything overly positive about them either. Even asking about Ross Stewart coming on, and he sort of doesn't say too much about that either. So I mean, there's a lot of things that need to change, and I don't think it's just exclusive to getting in what people would call a proper manager who's got experience, because they can bring another manager in, they can avoid relegation this season. But suddenly, if they don't learn from the mistakes that they've made in every single summer transfer window and every single winter window, in practically every single month, that they keep making these same mistakes. Well, Don Ballard scoring a hat-trick and everyone saying, why is he still not at the club? We got Damien Downs and he's gone out on loan. We've got Cameron Archer, who scores a goal every 10, 15 games if we're lucky. Adam Armstrong hasn't scored for ages. Ross Stewart's never fit. There's so many mistakes that they just keep making. And Johannes Spors comes in the summer. You hope suddenly someone new is going to come in and fix things, but he's just making the same mistakes that he half warned that he wouldn't make. He said that he wouldn't sell these young players who are promising, yet Don Ballard goes and scores loads of goals. They're just making the same mistakes. No matter who's there, they're just making the same mistakes. And until that stops...
He's appointed the last 2 managers as well.
Exactly, yeah. They're until the mistakes stop being made, then it doesn't matter who the manager is for me, because if they've got the same set of players, if they've got a club that are just making mistakes off the pitch, then I just don't see how that's going to fix it if they've suddenly got a manager who knows how to get out of the division.
I did see it described as a death by 1,000 cuts, isn't it? It's like every little decision is going against us at the moment.
Just to pick up on what George was saying there about Johannes Spors, we always talk about transfer windows, and something we always say is that you can't really tell until further down the line whether it's been any good or not. So Johannes Spors comes in, and obviously you give him a chance. He brings in a few players. But if you look at our squad now, or just look at what was on the pitch. So in the first couple of minutes yesterday, I noticed, do you notice the big guy that Hull had in midfield? I think his name's Crooks. He's about 6'4", big curly hair. He ran over the top of Casper Yander in the first minute. Then he ran over the top of Flynn Downs, and then he ran over Ryan Manning like he wasn't there. It's like swatted him away like a fly. So that to me says everything about the Championship and how prepared we are for it. So we've got this team on the pitch now, which is everything is lightweight. We've got 3 central defenders who, believe it or not, are not the most physical either. Everyone else is lightweight, it seems, and we just get battered around all over the pitch by, players like Crooks. He's a 32-year-old journeyman. He's not had an amazing career everywhere. I'd never really heard of him until yesterday, but he absolutely dominated that opening 20 minutes of the game, just running past and over and through our players. And that is the sort of thing that Johannes Spors should have been looking at. We've got to. I mean, he did make noises.
He said he wanted big, athletic, powerful players.
But you look at players like,
they didn't sign any. Kwashi's big and strong and quick. But other than him, they're all tricky, nice, on the eye, languid footballers.
Yeah, I was looking at Casper Yander, and I'm not picking him out. I think he's a very good player. I think he's technically very good. I am beginning to question with every passing week whether he's what we need in this division in the centre of midfield. We signed Oriol Romeo. To be honest, forget Sheffield United. When we play Pompey, I'm playing Romeo and Downs in the centre of midfield. Yeah. Because I can't see us I can't bear to think of us going to Fratton Park and just getting run over, which is what happened yesterday. Now, to me, Spors has completely failed in his remit there to build, to give whatever manager it is a team on the pitch that can compete in this division. And I think with every passing week, his transfer window in September is looking worse and worse. I mean, Elias Jella, there's another one. So another probably a good, decent footballer, got a good engine about him, seems to have a good cross on him, lots of skill, tiny, getting battered all over the place. It just sounds obvious, but I just don't feel that the what's going on with the player recruitment has given us a balanced squad. And that's another thing. We hear about how good the players are in training and all this sort of stuff. And
they're playing against our other players.
Yeah, I don't care. I do not care. When you're training, you don't have to 100% win that header. You don't have to 100% make that tackle. You don't have to do that in training.
Yeah.
It's when you step on over the white line on the pitch, that's when you have to put your body on the line and you have to make the tackle or you have to take one for the team. And I'm back to thinking about Ryan Manning again and how he never ever does that. But he's just one of many. There's no heart and no guts in this team, and that is why I don't think there's a Saints fan around who is confidently predicting that we will go to Fratton Park and not get beat.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because everyone knows they're going to be up for it, and we're going to be us. So there you go. Rant over.
Presumably, Steve, if Tonda goes, I'm not saying that he's going to go. I don't think he will. I think they'll probably stick with him. We've become accustomed to having 3 managers in a season now. That's kind of the norm for us. But if there's a bit of a reset in the summer and Tonda goes, then you kind of feel that Spurs has got to go as well and shoulder some of that responsibility.
Yeah, I would think so. I must admit, I do kind of think that Sunday is now a bit of a referendum on both Eckert and Spurs. I think Lou's there. I don't think Eckert has a way back with the fan base.
No.
Generally you go and lose to Pompey and you don't last much longer. So yeah, it's gonna be one of those. You go down there, okay, don't go down there. It's another shit 0-0 like it was at our place. Okay, fine. We got out of there without sort of turning over and whatever. You can kind of look at that, take some positives out of it. But you go down there and you roll over and you get beat. There'll be a hell of a lot more anger than you saw at half time and full time yesterday. There'll be more anger than you saw at that Preston game in November when Still went. And again, that'll be the point at which all attention points to the boardroom, and that's when they tend to make a decision, isn't it? So we'll see whether they've got the stones to hold out on that. And but yeah, I'm not hugely hopeful for the weekend, it must be said. But I mean, who knows?
Who knows? Let's try and pluck a few names out for Player of the Week. Was there anybody that stood out, George, when you did your scores out of 10 today? Because I thought maybe Tom Fellows and Ross Stewart, obviously, with the goal. I mean, it's a very low bar, admittedly, but who were if we had to put a name forward, who had a sort of a half decent game?
I'll pick the easy one, Ross Stewart, simply because he scored. I think there's even the players who had flashes didn't do enough to get Saints ahead before Hull go and obviously score 2 goals. So yeah, Ross Stewart was all right when he came on. I think when he's fit enough, he has to start.
He was honest after the game as well. I like that. I thought he came out and just, he kind of fronted up and he told it how it was, I thought. So Ross Stewart, anyone else? Steve, Glenn, anyone else?
No, I was going to say Stewart.
Yeah,
give it to him. We'll just give it to Ross Stewart.
I think he provides a glimmer of hope, doesn't he?
Yeah,
because
he's something different to what anybody else that we've got.
Yeah, and it means we can actually put balls into the box. We're not reliant on getting to the byline and cutting it back. And there's, it just increases the option to put that ball into the mixer. And that was, that was actually a nice goal. If you take it in isolation, Cienza gets his head up, doesn't mess around, puts the ball into the box. Stewart reads where it's going to go, comes in behind the defender and gets in front of the goalkeeper. It's really good centre forward play. And it will suit Tom Fellows on the other side as well, because with Fellows, he doesn't tend to cut inside. He tends to go outside, and you, as a centre forward, can read when the ball is coming in. It's not like we have this trend in football at the moment with inverted wingers and all that. So the wingers are always cutting back, and it makes it more difficult for the strikers to know when the ball's coming in. So that is something that is definitely a positive. But I've thought this before, and the poor guy never stays fit. But if we're just talking short term, as in the next couple of weeks, then maybe that is a glimmer of hope.
Well, it's another 3-game week, isn't it? So no doubt we'll flog him to death, and he'll go off after 20 minutes at Fratton Park.
Yeah.
Chad will be with us in just a moment. We'll get on to the Sheffield United game. Anything else on Hull before we just put it to bed?
One thing I thought was weird, and I don't know whether this is a sort of thing where Leo Cienza's positioning in the first half, especially, where basically so far, like since he's been with us, he's been very much sort of hog the left-hand touchline, receive the ball, come inside and work your magic there, or you can go on the outside. But yesterday he was coming inside so much, like when we had the ball, but he didn't. That actually we then didn't have an outlet out wide to get the ball to him. So then we had to come back into the sort of more congested central area, or down the right where obviously the ball would just come from. And it just slowed us down. I wasn't quite sure why he was doing that. I don't know whether he's I guess because he's been so kind of central to all the good stuff we've done sort of before this horrible run, that maybe there's this kind of he's kind of thinking that I've got to do everything here. So therefore he's kind of gone off message and come into the middle to try and work something in a tight space there. But
that's not going to help, is it? Ultimately,
it's not helping, and it certainly didn't help in that first half yesterday.
Yeah. I think it's
second half. He was back out on the wing all the time, and he got a lot more of the ball.
Yeah, I think it's Tonda vision, to be honest. I think that's the way he wants him to play in that formation, the three at the back formation. So we have got, even though we're 16th in the league or whatever, we have got two of the best wingers in the championship, and we're playing them as inside forward and a right wing back.
Yep.
At the moment, it's ridiculous. And in the second half, for 10 minutes, you saw the way the team should look and the way, the players were bought to fit into that 4-2-3-1 formation. And he takes fellows off after 15 minutes or whatever it was.
And that was the moment.
I mean, in fairness, Robinson, who replaced him, I thought did quite well.
Yeah, he was all right.
But there should have been scope to bring Robinson on and leave fellows in place, because he was having a lot more joy, I thought.
Yeah.
Right, well, we'll look ahead to Wednesday in just a moment. If you missed the news, we partnered with the Saints Foundation, and on Thursday night, we're going to be heading to St Mary's for a special live Total Saints podcast. Could be interesting, couldn't it, depending on how the result goes. We've been given access to the Halo suite, and it's going to be our biggest live podcast that we've done yet. The last few remaining tickets are £5 each, all the money going directly to the Saints Foundation to support the work that they do. Some special guests coming to join us for the evening. Mark Dennis is going to be sat next to you on the panel, which I think is something that a lot of us would have wanted to have seen for a very long time, because we've all got fond memories of him. He's going to have a few stories as well, I'd imagine.
I would imagine, and I would imagine that our Safe for Work certificate will be severely stretched.
James Beattie as well, Steve. So James Beattie's going to be joining us. He's an ambassador for the Saints Foundation, so he's going to be heading down. Are you looking forward to it on Thursday?
Yeah, it should be good. It should be a good laugh. I mean, both of those have got some stories to tell. Dennis's one's probably slightly less safe for work, I'd imagine, but it should be a good night.
They both played at Fratton Park as well, and I think Beattie scored at Fratton Park, didn't he? I know he got a few against Pompey. I'm pretty sure he scored for Everton, maybe.
Not for us. Yeah.
But he has scored at Fratton Park, but maybe not for us. Going to be catching up with the MD of the Saints Foundation as well about their Impact campaign, which is all about how they provide support across Southampton and finding out more about where your money goes, really. We'll probably be auctioning off a few bits as well. If you'd like to join us at St Mary's on Thursday night, you can find the link on all the socials. So we look forward to seeing you there. And if you've already got your ticket, you will get an email soon regarding all the timings. But we're probably going to go to the Dell for a pint afterwards as well. So that'd be good to see if you possibly can. Now, all the talk this week is going to be about the derby on Sunday for sure, but there is another game on Wednesday night. Sheffield United are going to be at St Mary's. So to help us preview that one, I'm pleased to say that Chad Jarvis is joining us from the Red Half of Sheffield podcast. Hi, Chad. How you doing?
Oh, not bad, guys. Man, it was dour in the first 5 minutes of listening to you guys coming in on the back half. Wow.
Welcome to the podcast. Now, that's not an original sort of Yorkshire accent, is it? So where are you, Chad? Whereabouts are you? Tell us about your podcast.
I am stateside. I live in North Carolina. Our podcast started about 6 years ago, basically when everybody else's podcast started during COVID. So it's me and another fellow that lives on the other side of the country in California. We have been doing a podcast for 6 years and only met one time. It was actually, oddly enough, it was in my wedding. I got married and I invited him to stand up in my wedding. And that was the first time. I never knew anything about him. I mean, we talk regularly because we do a podcast every week. So, I mean, it's almost like a brother, but yeah. Been doing it. Yeah. 2 Americans. And you're like, why Sheffield United and not Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, like everybody else over here, or even Wrexham? Just wanted to be different, man. I have a love for the EFL. The Premier League can go do whatever they want, and they can take all the Americans and Americanize it even more. But no, it was just 2 guys that follow Sheffield United and the trials and tribulations of the roller coaster. And now the roller coaster's kind of going down, and I'd be okay if we went to League One. I just never want to go to the Premier League again.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, as I talked to Glenn when I had him on the reverse of this to preview the fixture, I told him I would be more than glad to stay in this league in the championship or League One forever, never go back up there. Now, obviously, you say that, but then you look at it, you're going to need the payday that comes with going in the Premier League. But we were there. We were just as bad as you guys when you guys were up there. So, I mean, it's not fun losing 30-odd games a year, drawing 3, and then winning 2. I mean, who enjoys that? I don't. I like where, this year's a kind of a one-off, but you at least have a chance to win more games than you're going to lose. And you're not getting hammered every week, 4 or 5-0, 3-0, having a man sent off. Looking at I remember our last season in the Premier League, match day 1, I looked at it and I said, yeah, we'll be relegated by about March. And I think if it wasn't for the bottom of the table being so bad, I think we got relegated with like 6 or 7 matches to go. But yeah, it's just no fun. Yeah, you get all the glitz and the glam and everybody talking. Well, over here, they don't talk about anybody besides the top 7 or 8 sides. So you never get the coverage, but it's just like, oh, it's cool to be up there, but no point in losing every week.
Talk to me about this season and Chris Wilder coming back in and what on earth's going on there? Where does it end?
So, okay, we go and lose in the last kick of the playoff final in May. And off the back of 90 points, whatever you want to believe we got, we decided it was a good idea to sack Wilder. And honestly, I wasn't a big fan of Wilder coming back the second time. Now we've had 2 more iterations of that, and this is time number 4. So in probably a year's time, we'll sack him, bring somebody in, and then 3 games later, bring him back. So you give the kudos to the new ownership that came in at about Christmas time of 24. They finished off with Wilder, lost in the playoff final, as I said, and then they decided to make the leap and bring in Ruben Sayas and and
we were all like, "What?
yeah,
what are they doing?"
Yeah. I wish we would have known that. But to be fair, I knew as soon as the first goal went in against Sheffield United because behind the scenes, like even when I say behind the scenes at Sheffield United, the supporters it's almost like wild or cultish. Like yes, of course, whenever he after his like 20th time managing us in like 40 years, then they build the statue and we finally move on from him. Yes, what he did from bringing us from League One all the way up to the Premier League, having our best ever finish in the Premier League. Yes, you can build a statue. But over time of us going up and down between the two leagues, I feel like we just retread with him. He comes in, his tactics have gone past, the game's gone past him. He's too stubborn to know it. And so was sacking him after the playoff final or in basically about June. Was it right? Probably not. Obviously the first 10 matches say us we didn't do anything. I mean, we were basically awful. But the first goal that went in against Bristol City in the first game, I was doing a live stream, and I remember it popping up in the chat and said, well, Wilder wouldn't have let that go in. Didn't you see what happened in the playoffs the previous season? 6-0 on aggregate, got us to playoff final, blah, 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 blah. As the games went on and we continued to fail and lose, you could see that the supporters base was starting. You had your Wilder Colts, and then you had your people on the fringe. Just give him some time. Even if it's an absolute train wreck, we have to bet at some point. We have to bet a new manager in at this club. You just can't keep going through Wilder. And sure enough, we kept losing and losing and losing, and that Wilder cult finally won out, and they bring him back.
Is he like a millstone around your neck? Is that the kind of, that's what I'm getting from this? Is that you need to cut the cord at some point,
isn't it?
Exactly. It is. What you said, Steve, it's a security blanket. He is our fail safe. When you just look at us in the last season we were in the Premier League, we were so bad, we were so far cut adrift from the entire league that when we finally got rid of Paul Heckingbottom, there was a reason why Wilder came back was a safe pair of hands to take us into the championship. Because one, nobody wanted to touch that to have a relegation already. The nails in the coffin were all nailed on. Nobody wants a relegation on their CV, so they didn't take it. So he took a hometown discount, came back in. Yes, he did what he did in the season. Okay, we didn't get up, or we didn't go up. I still wanted to change. And even when he came back, because there was only one person they were going to bring back. They weren't going to bring anybody back that was new, or bring anybody in that was new. They were going to bring him. And has he changed the side? Not really, because you look at the table, we're 17th.
Well, talk to me about the last couple of games, because from our point of view, it's an experienced manager that's come in. They've signed someone that can score goals. This is just stuff of dreams for us. Someone that knows a manager that knows the league, and someone that can put the ball in the back of the net. So I always just assumed that you would then start to steadily climb the league and it'll all come together. Is that not the case?
So you look at, obviously, off of the back of the result yesterday against Charlton, they had we were down to 9 men inside of, I think it was 40 minutes. We were down to 9 men, questionable red card on Tanganga. He went in high with the elbow. The ref kind of lost a plot about halfway through the first half. And then we were down to 9 men, finished it. If before the first red card, they were unlucky not to be probably 2 or 3-0 up against Charlton. Okay, it was never on the cards. If United are going to get a point, that would have been considered a win. They gave up the odd goal. They lose 1-0. Prior to that, you look at the FA Cup. If it wasn't for Macclesfield beating Crystal Palace, Mansfield Town knocking out Sheffield United in the Cup. It is what it is. I love the FA Cup, but we're only going to go so far until a top 6 team knocks us out, because it's a top 6 cup. Then you go back to, you had the game against Oxford called off because somebody at Bramall Lane decided when they left, they shut all the lights off and they didn't keep the power for the undersoil heating on. Frozen pitch, game gets called off. Then you go further into that. The festive period, you had the 8-goal thriller against Wrexham. You were 3-1 up against Wrexham inside of 25 minutes. You think that's 3 points on the board, and then the defense just kind of turns off. And that's where it's been this season. Even when Wilder came back in, we picked up a couple of clean sheets, but we're still leaking goals. It's almost night and day from last season. We kept so many clean sheets. Michael Cooper's like, oh my God, he's the greatest keeper in the championship. Now he looks just bang average. It's because you have defenders that just aren't good. And we don't change the formation. Gus Hamer, he can fraud.
This all sounds very familiar.
Yeah. In Gus Hamer, he can pack his bags and get the hell out of the team because I'm not a personal fan of him. I've never liked him coming in. I thought he was arrogant. He thinks he's a Premier League player. He's probably wouldn't get in anybody in the top half. He'd probably be maybe good enough to get in West Ham. He can go. I mean, there just hasn't been any bright spots. You lost, which I was surprised that, when we let him go in the summer, I was like, I wasn't too big a fan of him. Amo-Ameyaw, a big Bosnian that was at the back last year, losing him. Then you bring in we went and raided the senior center down at in Yorkshire and got Ben Mee. We got Danny Ings and his walker, Kane, wheelchair. He rolled, let's take him because he's 35 years old and has a pulse. He couldn't score if the goal mouth is 40 feet wide. It's just a calamitous. And then, of course, Wilder, some of these players aren't Wilder players. So in January, they've been opened up to, if clubs come along and they want to give us a deal, they want to take them off our hands, they can take them. So basically, everything we did this summer, we're unraveling. The one bright spot's been Patrick Bamford. I mean, he's been scoring goals like it's going out of style. But when your defense is just bottom half championship, that's why we are where we are. I mean, now is relegation a thought? No, it's a good enough side to stay up. There's three worse teams than United, but it's just like I said this to Glenn when we did our preview. Our teams almost feel exactly alike, like exactly alike. But like you guys said, we have a known manager in the championship. We should be a lot higher up in the table. And even look at it right now, we sit 11 points out of playoffs. I mean, if you go on a run and win 5 games in a row, you could be 7. But it's the amount of teams that are in front of us. Yeah. I think where we 17th, 16th, like something like that. You've got almost 10 teams in front of you. So that's what makes it hard.
Is he selling it to you, George? It sounds like it's going to be a great game on Wednesday.
No draw, baby.
6-all now.
I mean, it's going to be a terrible game, isn't it, George? But it's this is one that we need to get something out of.
Oh yeah, especially with the Pompey game on the Sunday. If you talk about all the confidence, if they win a game, although winning at Doncaster didn't seem to do too much for confidence, but yeah, they need to do something. Just because if they don't, then it's going to get increasingly more toxic with each home game that passes by. And ultimately, if they're going to flounder out and finish 18th or 15th, if we're lucky, making the atmosphere at St Mary's a little bit better so that people aren't as frustrated, even though people will obviously still be very frustrated if they're 15th. But yeah, they just need to show reason for optimism because we haven't had that in the last month.
Patrick Bamford, Glenn, scoring, I think, is it 6 goals in 11 appearances? That was a name that was kind of mooted around, wasn't it, at the start of the season about someone we should be we're looking at. So that could potentially cause us some problems. And it's interesting what a difference a goal scorer can make.
I mean, let's not forget that since Sheffield United brought back Chris Wilder and signed the likes of Patrick Bamford, they started the season with something like 6 defeats on the spin, didn't they, or something? So if you probably took a league table from the point that Chris Wilder came in, they would be, at least probably 8th or 9th, something like that. So he's not done too bad, despite, Wilder being what he is. Bamford's a very astute signing. You never know when you bring in free transfers, for players who have been out of contract, like we did with Harwood-Bellis. You never know how fit they're going to be, how they're going to, hit the ground running, especially someone like Bamford, who had a history of injury with in his last sort of couple of years at Leeds. But so far, he's done the job he was brought in to do. And he's a player that's caused us problems in the past. So he's one that we're obviously going to have to be wary of. He's the kind of profile of player, being a sort of bustling centre forward type, that you would think will cause us problems. But to be honest, the way we're defending at the moment, it doesn't matter if the centre forward's big or small. It's just, it's just comes down to concentration and consistent defending at the end of the day. The thing that always follows Chris Wilder around is ill discipline of his team. He got sent off himself in the in his first game back, which was against us. I remember for Willie and the ball in the crowd. He 2 players sent off yesterday. He's always claiming it's harsh, and I think referees and administrators they don't listen to him now, and I think he probably has more decisions go against him than he should as a result of that. I think people over the years have just grown fed up with his shtick of blaming everybody else. So,
I mean, the best one was when he got offended by an assistant referee eating a sandwich when he came into the referee's dressing room, wasn't it? Was that last 2 years ago?
You're right. I've forgotten that. Yeah. So, I mean, the old school managers like Wilder, I enjoy listening to them. And if you ask me to toss up, would I prefer Chris Wilder in charge of Saints or the PE teacher that we've got? Then it wouldn't be a straightforward choice. I'd have to think about it. So yeah. I mean, it's another tough game. I think we need to win this one. I desperately think we need to win this one because if we don't, I can honestly see Tonda Eckert getting sacked if we don't win this one, because I just don't think would they dare give him the game against Portsmouth if we go into it without winning this one on Wednesday, because it's just going to be a horrible atmosphere in the ground if this game goes wrong. And there's a very clear path for Sheffield United to win this game, and it's by playing exactly like Hull did, keep it compact, get some energy into your attacks, look at set pieces, and it doesn't matter how many players they've got or how many they've got on the pitch. Even if they do that, we will struggle if we play the same way that we have been playing recently.
We will probably see a few changes, Steve. We know that because it's a 3-game week and he likes to change things up a bit. So hopefully a few more minutes for Ross Stewart as well.
I'm not sure I'd be starting him for this one. I might. If you're going to start him any of these games, if he is going to be fit enough, then wait for Sunday. Yeah. That's the one that ultimately matters. I think. So unfortunately, sorry to any Sheffield United fan, we're not really giving that much of a shit about you this week, but it is what it is. It's I mean, when you build up to a game like that, we haven't played down there in the league since Christmas 2011. So yeah, it's a big deal. So yeah, anybody who's not feeling great for Wednesday, I wouldn't be taking a risk on anybody. I mean, maybe that might allow the manager to stumble upon something. Who knows? Maybe Shay Charles gets a bit of a run out. That'll wind up the away end. Obviously, having been at Wednesday on loan, so yeah, I mean that getting a few minutes into his legs would be quite good. Give Casper Yand a little bit of a rest, perhaps, and yeah, see how we go there. I wouldn't thought we'd make. I mean, I'm not seeing a system change by any stretch of the imagination, but potentially Charles maybe come in, even if he only plays a half.
Jack Stevens, maybe, I guess.
Stevens for Kwaji, probably, although maybe you save him for Sunday as well, as kind of the only quote-unquote leader, depending on how much you kind of value that from him. And probably Wellington in at left wing-back.
The other option, George, of course, could be James Bree, who's going to be back on Monday, right? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but was Tonda saying, was he asked about that this week? Because I remember him saying he's been playing week in, week out. He's been playing regular football, so he's not going to have to get up to speed. So that could be someone that comes in and ends up playing one of the games. Yeah,
because I asked him about that, because obviously they got rid of him in the summer because they signed 2 other right backs that they wanted to replace him with, and neither of them have lit the world up. Like they haven't been very good.
They're not playing.
Maz Roslev is back in training, then he's back out of training, then he's back in training, he's back out of training. And Tonda spoke about James Bree like a player who is going to be knocking on his door straight away to get in the team. He said he can play right back, he can play right centre back, he can play right wing back. Then he told us it totally depends on what system they play as to where he will play. So yeah, he did speak about him as someone that I could see coming into the team. And if he's going to put Tom Fellows in his natural position of right wing, then you probably do want someone like James Bree behind him. But again, it's another one of those things where we talk about Saints not learning from their mistakes. Suddenly the the bloke they got rid of in the summer because they thought they got 2 better right backs than him is like a new signing when he comes back in. So yeah,
well, Bree's good in the air as well. So
Yeah.
that's going to be useful if Eckert decides that he wants to kind of toughen us up a little bit. Someone who can attack the ball in both boxes. And he's 6'1", 6'2", kind of ideal profile for us, really.
It is going to be odd for him though, because he played against Sheffield United on the weekend, didn't he? So playing against them twice in a week for 2 different clubs.
I mean, if he plays right, if we played 3 at the back and he plays right wing back, then that either takes Fellows or Azaz out of the team, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the compromise. If he goes into the back 3, then obviously it's that moves Harwood-Bellis from the position where he plays best. So yeah. So you would think if we play a back 4, heaven forbid, that Bree would be a candidate to play at right back, being relatively defensively solid. But yeah, it
was just where when Tonda he's been playing at right back. He's also played at right wing back, and that was it's not going to be a back 4, is it? It's not going to be a back 4. Chad, can we get a score prediction from you, please, before we let you go?
Let's see. You guys don't want to sit and watch a 0-0 game. Like, let's hopefully breathe some life into this game. Maybe a couple goals apiece, 2-2. I don't think neither one of the sides take 3 points. I think it's all even because I think we are almost an identical side to Southampton. You know, leading into this season, we were one of the top contenders for promotion. You guys up there with Ipswich and Leicester, and it's kind of we've kind of fallen on our faces here. I think all is even 2-2. If you guys do win it, it'll probably be like a 3-1. I'd say.
Yeah, it's definitely both teams to score, isn't it?
Yeah. And what about watching the game for you? What time will that be with the time difference? Because it's is it an 8 o'clock kickoff on Wednesday? Where you got to pull an all-nighter, or is it on during the day?
It will be it'll be 3 o'clock in the afternoon here.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, perfect. Yeah, right in the middle of the workday. I got my TV right here. I'm just popping on the tube. Yeah, I'm working. I'm working. Okay. Oh, there's a goal going. Yeah, now I'll work.
Do an emergency podcast. Nice one. Yeah. Cheers for coming on, Chad. Appreciate that.
Cheers. And, thanks, guys.
Enjoy the game.
Cheers, Chad.
Need to get a few predictions from you. Last time out, Glenn, as you mentioned already, you did correctly call the 2-1 defeat. So fair play. Well done. You weren't the only one, though. We had over 80 entries in the predictions league, 22 correct results, and 14 people called the 2-1. So do you want to go first for Wednesday night?
Okay. Yeah, something Steve said earlier on gives me a little bit of hope that he'll stumble upon something, because I reckon he'll play the likes of Matsky and hopefully Wellington. Shea Charles coming back. I've forgotten all about him, to be perfectly honest. So bringing in Bree and Charles would sort of, and maybe even Stewart, but I do think they'll leave him to the Portsmouth game. So maybe that stiffens up the team a little bit in terms of physicality. So let's go for a horrible, scratchy 2-1 win.
2-1 win. Is it going to be a bit soon for Shea Charles, do you think, George? What's the...
I think it might be. I think it might even be too soon for Cam Bragg as well, because obviously there's a 7 to 10 day sort of window with concussions. I think it's 7 is the rule, but from Googling it, it sort of can go up to 10 days with a concussion. So it might be too early for him. I don't think Oliver Romeo is going to get back in the side anytime soon. He had an ankle injury this week. So he might put Charles in, but it's obviously a hamstring that he's done twice in quick succession. So they may look to be a bit more careful, but I think Yander probably does need a rest.
Let's get a score prediction from you then, George. What are you thinking?
I just think neither team looks like a side that's going to keep a clean sheet or stop goals out. And it might just come down to a bit of chaos, whoever gets a late one. And the way things are going with Saints, it feels like they're going to concede a late goal that wins a game rather than score it. So I'm going to say 3-2 to Sheffield United.
Oh, gosh. When is do you know when the press conference is? Because it's
I don't know yet, actually. I'm not too sure. It'll obviously either be Monday or probably later in the afternoon on Tuesday. But yeah, I'm not too sure just yet.
Steve?
One thing we forgot to mention about yesterday, actually, was that for only the second time under Eckert, we won the second half.
Yes. There you go. See? Nice positive to finish on.
Yes.
Good points for
Yeah.
that, Louis.
Half point, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sheffield United don't look anything special, but then that's generally been where we come most unstuck.
Yeah.
But we're at home. Our records up until, well, for the most part this season, our home record has been kind of fine. As we say, before yesterday, we were 6 or 7 unbeaten at home, scoring plenty of goals. So maybe Sheffield United, a couple of defensive players out, unavailable again. Obviously, they're now going to keep a clean sheet, but yeah, no, I think we'll possibly just about do enough. Nervy 2-1, same as Glenn.
2-1 win. Nice one. Well, if you want to get involved in the Predictions League, if you want to play along, all you need is your Patreon login. You can find the leaderboards, which gets updated all the time, and also how to play on the website. So head to totalsaints.co.uk. Anything else before we wrap up for this week?
Did we talk about Gavin Bazunu going out on loan?
No,
Football.
unless you did it last week when I wasn't
That
there.
it hadn't been confirmed, had it, last week? I don't think.
No, I'm not interested in battering him again for the things he can't do. Well,
Kept a clean sheet.
Yeah, he did keep a clean sheet, and fair play to him. But I was just trying to think, what's been bothering me about the whole thing with Gavin is that he's been with us for 3.5 years, from age 20. And in that time, he's never got any better. And it just got me to be thinking, why is that? Why has he not got any better? And it's either because he's not capable of getting any better, which I don't believe, or have a guess how many managers he's played under in his 3.5 years. Just a quick one.
Going to be 6 or 7?
9.
It's
I was
8.
gonna say 8, yeah.
Yeah, it's
and
8.
Probably 8 different goalkeeping coaches.
Different goalkeeper coaches. Are we as a club providing the correct environment, the correct, background, if you like, for him to, or for anyone else for that matter, to thrive as a player, to get the most out of their potential? Are we doing that, or are we failing these players? He came in Sport Republic's first transfer window, which is the one where we signed Romeo Lavia, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. It was the start of the season where we did the first 3 manager trick with Ralph, then Nathan Jones, then Ruben Sellers. It was the start of that season. He got pitched straight into the team as a 20-year-old goalkeeper in a struggling team in the Premier League, and
having come straight from Portsmouth's first team. Remember,
yeah.
Well.
So that is tough, and obviously confidence goes. He's had a big injury as well, which ruled him out from the end of the season where we qualified for the playoffs until about March of the following year when he went out on loan, and that didn't work out very well either. So, and I've battered him as much as anyone because I just got sick of seeing stupid goals go in. But just looking at the bigger picture, we try and pride ourselves on what goes on behind the scenes with the training and stuff like that. But I do look at someone like Gavin Bazunu and think, have we really done all we could? And the answer is no, because we've continued to get things wrong in terms of managerial appointments, coaching appointments, and stuff like that. So the reason I'm thinking like this is because I had a Stoke fan phone me up about going on their program, and I thought, what crumbs of comfort can I give them? Yeah, and it basically came down to the fact that we've been pretty rotten as an environment for 3.5 years now. So maybe just to move away and go to a club that's sort of going in the right direction might help. And remember, Bazunu was the first George Republic of Ireland goalkeeper before his injury, keeping Kelleher out the team. And he's obviously a very good goalkeeper who's come on leaps and bounds through playing regular football. So yeah, I think sometimes we just need to have a look at ourselves big time about what we are actually doing for the young players coming through.
We can add him to the list of players that are going to leave and actually suddenly find a bit of form. And was it Jan Bednarek this week, George? Did you write that about the player of the month or something? Isn't it? I know it's like a different league, isn't it? But just someone else that's gone and is doing all right and flourishing a bit.
Yeah, it feels like basically when most players leave, they have a better time of it. Okay, some of them go to a worse division, but Paul Onuachu back scoring goals. There's so many of them that it does seem that once you flee the nest of Saints and the clear issues that there are behind the scenes and the way that the trajectory of the club, that you can turn your career around a little bit. And yeah, I think a few players might look at that and realise that they've probably got a better chance somewhere else.
Yeah. Feels like a bit of a poor man's Man United at the moment in terms of being a bit of a graveyard for incoming players. That players come in with burgeoning reputations and look to us to kind of develop themselves and put themselves in the shop window, and it all kind of falls apart and goes to shit. Amongst, there's one man with his finger in both of those pies, isn't there?
Yes,
Mr. Wilcox.
Yeah, there is, and questions have been asked about him, aren't they? So, anything else? I think we've covered most.
The women played in the FA Cup this afternoon.
Extra time, is it?
Yeah, extra time against Bristol City, who I think we've drawn 4 of the last 5 years in the FA Cup, haven't we? Which is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm pretty sure we've lost them all.
I think so. Yeah, they always seem to lose against them.
Yeah, don't have a good record against them, lost in last minute of extra time.
117th minute,
at Eastleigh.
Yeah,
why they're not playing an FA Cup game at St Mary's, I don't know. I mean, either you're taking the women's game seriously or you're not. But yeah, that's my little bugbear with the women's setup at the moment.
No, fair point. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. You can follow Total Saints Podcast on all the usual social media platforms. Total Saints Pod is what you need to search for. You can check out the merch store as well, shop.totalsaints.co.uk. As I mentioned right back at the start, we're also on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with your monthly contributions. You head to patreon.com/Total Saints Podcast. You'll know this by now, but each of the tiers comes with some different perks, including some shouts at the end of each podcast for all the patrons in our Francis Benali and our Mick Shannon tiers. So to that end, thank you to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Peter Montalabo, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer, James Kibbe, Red 76 Tax, Michael Blackmer, David Mansell, Nick Gardner, and now John Collison as well in the Francis Benali tier. And thank you to Nick Reed, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Hingston, Phil Cook, Jonathan Cooper, Colt Baker, Anthony Thompson, Matt Hall, Mike Etheridge, Phil Horstrup, Mark Littlewood, James Bobin, John Bevan, Frank Thorpe, John Peacock, and Andy, who are in the Mick Shannon tier. Thank you as well to Paul Castle Associates, who continue to sponsor the podcast, along with Steamtown Brewery. Thank you to Steve. Thanks to George. Thank you to Glenn. Thank you for watching and listening. And don't forget our special live podcast at St Mary's on Thursday night to raise some money for the Saints Foundation. Grab your tickets, and we'll see you there.